Good evening and welcome to the Cheese Room podcast. I am Wade. I'm the caller and I'm your guest for this evening. Tonight we have got a packed show. We'll be discussing the trip to Old Trafford, the race for the top four, the worst day in Chelsea's 19-year-old history. That's about right, isn't it? And we've got the quiz and birthdays and all the usual stuff. We're sorry we're a touch late this evening. It was due to me locking Shan in a cupboard so she couldn't travel to Old Trafford tomorrow. So, obviously we're going to win now. Joining me tonight, a man celebrating not only because Spurs thrashed Everton on Monday night, but also because his German team did okay this week. HG, what happened in Seville, I should say, and did you send the firm after the West Ham fans because they got a bit beat up, didn't they?
They did. West Ham started a fight and then lost. Brilliant. My German team went to Betis, which is obviously the same city as Seville, and they played Wednesday night and won 2-1. Very happy with that. Of course, away goals don't count, but I don't care about that either. So I'm hopeful they will make it through to the next round, and maybe play Barcelona would be fun.
You never know. And last Friday was clearly so stressful on poor coach John that he had to take Tuesday off. How are you feeling, John? Are you fully recovered and ready to go?
I'm not going to lie.
I've had quite this if you want.
Oh, hello. I've had quite a week, quite a challenging week, but I'm all right. We're here. Can I ask a question, HG? Was it Europa League or Conference League?
That was Europa League.
Oh, okay. I think didn't Barca only draw at home to Galatasaray?
I think so.
So yeah.
But I know that's my friend's dream, right? That he wants Eintracht against Barcelona because you get a chance to play them. Doesn't happen very often. But it's a pretty good result. Eintracht, they were 8th or 9th in the Bundesliga, went out there and 2-1. I think they scored. They got the equaliser, Betis, and within 2 minutes, Frankfurt scored again, and that was that. But they missed a penalty. It should have been 3-1.
Why are you coach HG this evening anyway?
Why am I coach HG? Because I'm desperate for approval. And I figured if I put coach in front of my name, people would like me more. Isn't that what happens? Isn't that why people do it? I thought so. So, I just put coach there. I mean, I'll probably get rid of it in a few minutes. But, for all of you should try this out there, all of you at home. If you feel as if no one likes you, and if you feel that, you try and get a group of people together, but only about 10 show up, for whatever reason, maybe put coach in front of your name, and then you might unite people. Okay? There you go.
I just thought it was to do with not being able to fill up your coach with petrol. Because your credit card had been frozen or something.
Coach Chelsea.
Yeah.
We'll get there. And finally, welcome to her on a debut. Apparently, she lives in Cheshire, so we assume, just like Seb, that means Stoke-on-Trent. Becky, welcome. And does that mean you live in Stoke?
No, it doesn't mean I live in Stoke. No. The reason why I put Cheshire is because I'm from Shrewsbury originally in Shropshire, and I'm moved to Cheshire, and it's a little village, and no one's ever heard of it, so it's just easy to put Cheshire. But I'm up here in the northwest, so I'm off to United tomorrow. Looking forward to it. It's not a really long commute to get there, so can't wait.
Are you going tomorrow, are you?
I am, yes.
And you were picked up in the crowd last time out, weren't you?
I was.
There you go, Middlesbrough.
My phone was on fire. We had really poor signal, so I was coming out of the ground, and Joe, who's there just on the left, Joe Spur next to me, our phones were just blowing up, and we couldn't work out why. And then people started to sort of filter through that we'd been spotted, and I think I was going for puzzled. That was my expression, because it was certainly a puzzling match. That's all I can say, really.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest. Shan was less polite than puzzled. So well done on that, on being so.
I am a teacher as well, so do have to kind of watch my P's and Q's a little bit as well.
So I've got two teachers on the broadcast. And Becky, what do you teach? Any specific subject?
No, I'm a primary school teacher. I'm deputy head, so I'm fortunate to teach everything, and lots of kids, and kind of banter with them as well. Which there's a few Arsenal fans in my year 6 class, unfortunately, and quite a few Man U fans I've discovered this week as well. But yeah, it's all good.
Painful. Okay, well, Man United away 5:30 tomorrow, live on Sky Sports. I can't wait. As I said, if you're just joining the channel, we've locked Shan in a broom cupboard. There is no danger. She is going to be at the game, so we're okay. We're covered. We're going to win. We're going to break the up-down jinx. So let's get straight into that. But before I do, first, welcome to the show. Please do hit the like button when you come in the room. Let us know what's on your mind. We've got lots of channel members in here. Welcome to Paul. Welcome to Stevie. Welcome to that is the diver. It's fantastic to see you all channel members. You can grab your channel membership now. Just go to our YouTube homepage and all the details are on there. And of course, if you want to let us know what's on your mind tonight, do drop it in the comments or send us a super chat. Man United away then. Let's talk team news. So Spurs, Sessegnon, 3 weeks out. HG, I'll come to you because you sort of said he wasn't good enough. But all of a sudden, he's a key part of the team. Out for 3 weeks. I feel sorry for the guy. He can't catch a break, can he?
No, he's got dodgy hamstrings, which don't really, considering pace is one of his biggest assets, it's a problem. No one wants to see him injured. It's nice to see him do well because for 18 months he barely had a kick at Spurs. Obviously went to longer than that really, but he did a year at Hoffenheim as well. Yeah, I don't think he or Reguilon are particularly good. They're certainly not good enough for what we want to do as a wing back, but they're decent options. And yeah, so 3 weeks out means that Reggie gets 4 games, certainly 3 or 4 games before the international break. It's a chance for him to show that he's a better option maybe in the final third, because outside of his goal against Everton, he's not done too well really going forward. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, it's tough luck for Sessegnon.
Absolutely. And Becky, just coming to you, Skip and Tanganga both still out. I mean, Tanganga's probably less of a miss, but Skip, how much are we missing him?
I think you can tell from Conte's press conferences how frustrated he is with either the medical team or just sheer bad luck again. That it's just, he is such a fixture in that midfield for us. We've had lots of discussions, haven't we, about Winks and Højbjerg and how they kind of work together. And now we've got Bentancur, but we haven't really had the chance to see Skip with the new signings really, and how that would kind of go. So it is unfortunate, but he's a young lad, and he came back from that awful injury at the end of Norwich last year, didn't he? So hopefully when he comes back stronger.
I'm sure there's some crazy stats out there, John, about how I think when he's been in the side, we've barely lost a match, isn't there?
Yes, yeah, there is.
I'm sure you don't have those stats, do you?
I haven't got the stats, have I? I haven't got the stats. No, we're a much better team with Skip. A simple fact. He's got an all-round game, but to see him with Bentancur is probably the dream at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Højbjerg was much better on Monday, but it was a bit of a scrap, wasn't it? He likes a scrap. I am a bit worried against United, but we'll see what happens. But I would have much preferred to have Skip there. I think him and Bentancur both similar age. Oh no, sorry, it's Kulusevski and Skip at the same age. Yeah. But yeah, he's mobile. He can tackle. He's got a decent pass. The only thing he hasn't done is scored any goals yet. But it's not his main job, so we'll see.
It's not his main job, but he's your box-to-box man, isn't he?
If Skip was fit, do you think he would start over Højbjerg then? Do you think Conte would pick him?
Not tomorrow. If he was fit. Just fit, but if he'd been fit for a couple of weeks, then I think yes, he'd have a good chance. He'd certainly rest Højbjerg at some point, and then I think he'd probably keep his place because he's that good.
United, Ronaldo, and Cavani available. Apparently, HG. I mean, apparently they should have been available last time out, but a bit like Shan, bit AWOL.
Yeah, it's what I think everyone says that United are better without Ronaldo. I don't know if that's true. I certainly don't want him playing because he's capable of. I mean, even the goal he scored at White Hart Lane. I mean, I can't really call it that anymore, but that was a brilliant goal, right? You don't really want someone like that who's capable. I mean, who'd you rather have up front? Bruno Fernandes as a false 9 or Ronaldo? Yeah, I'll take my chances with Bruno, thanks. So he and Cavani, if one of them starts, United will be much more of a threat. But you'd hope that Dyer, Romero, and Davies would be enough to deal with that threat.
Apparently, Luke Shaw has COVID, and McTominay is possibly out with a calf injury. Are you optimistic then, Becky, on the back of that, that we've got a good shout? Maybe Cavani and Ronaldo only turn up to home games these days.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because I think United are a bit like us. It depends, what competition they're in, or how things are. We've heard a lot, haven't we, about Ragnick and whether he's got the dressing room or he hasn't, and whether he's staying, and he just they might be like us. We just don't know which team will turn up. But I'm certainly with HG. I'd rather Ronaldo not be there. And I remember I was seeing some tweets on Sunday about Maguire referring to him as a fridge, and I thought, oh, bring it on! Quite looking forward to seeing Maguire act like a fridge. That'd be nice. Running around him.
He has certainly got the turning circle of a fridge. And the head shape of a fridge. But then so's Eric Dyer, really. So it's kind of like who's the battle of the fridges, maybe. Expected starting lineup then, John. What are you thinking you're going to see?
I think probably the team that played against Everton for us. I can't see any changes. Well, apart from Reggie, obviously, coming in for Cess. But otherwise, it'll be the same. We've obviously got our new star right wing back. Don't you?
Don't you wish your right back was Doherty? I've got to say, that's a good one. I like that.
Do you know, I was thinking you were going to say that one of the girls behind Doherty was the new right wing back. You were just going to introduce it. Because the blonde one on over his shoulder, I have a feeling she'd be all right as a wing back. That one seems to, I don't know why, but
she wouldn't take any crap, would she? You can tell.
Of those girls, she's the one who's like up and down. Yeah, absolutely. I could better stop because there's going to be.
Might want to rephrase that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to stop there. But Doherty looks good. Mara Doherty, right? Isn't that what Shane calls him now?
Mara Doherty. Well, Shan started the Matt Doherty GOAT Fan Appreciation Society or something on Twitter, hasn't she? Which is another reason why she should be locked in a broom cupboard, if you ask my opinion. Last week at City, they played with a false nine. So, who you worried about then, Becky, in the Man United potential 11?
I think it's often the same thing, isn't it? Fernandez, he spends half his life on the pitch and on the floor and diving about and all of that, but he is a threat. And we've seen matches before with Dyer where he's handballs and he's just so certainly Fernandez. I think if Cavani does come back, then he's a threat in the air. But Romero's strong enough. We just don't want anything daft from Romero. Like you said on Monday night, he's close to getting his 10th booking, and it's a tricky one, really. They've got so much all over the pitch, but again, it's like I said, it depends who turns up and how. And they might be saving themselves for the Champions League next week. We just don't know how much they'll put into it.
I agree. HG, what do you think's gone wrong with Marcus Rashford? Because I think he's now got 5 goals in 25 appearances. So, a bit poor, isn't it?
Well, it's not a great record. I don't know how many of those were starts. I mean, the thing with Man United is that even when Martial was around, they've got a lot of options, but they don't really know what to do with any of it. Like Sancho couldn't score at the start of the season, then he starts doing okay, and clearly Rangnick likes him. So Sancho is going to be one of those who starts, I would think. Yeah. But after a while, there are only 3 spots, right? If Fernandes is not playing as a 10, but yes, I don't know where you would go with Rashford. He's not a central striker, which is probably what United need more than anything. Yeah. And down the left, he's not first choice. He's certainly not guaranteed, and I'm not sure he's ever really been a guaranteed first choice. Rashford. He just the team was playing better, so he'd score more goals. I don't know. Like I like Rashford as a person. For everything that he's done off the pitch. As a player, he's never really massively convinced me, but on his day, he's really, really good. And Man United players tend to have a decent day against us.
We always think that, though, don't we?
We do, but I'm 43 years old. I mean, Man United have won how many leagues in my lifetime? Quite a lot. But weirdly, not since Rashford was playing for them, because it's been, 9 years now since they won it?
Yeah.
But, I don't expect another 6-1. So... It's weird. Like we have a decent record at Man United in the last few years, But I will always fear the worst, because even when we were good, we would lose at Man United. There's the 1 year where was it Walker that scored an own goal and we lost 1-0 on the first day of the season. There's, Man United away. Maybe it's in the fans' minds, but probably in the players too. We all know that United are decent, but we've got to go there and do what we did to City.
Yeah, absolutely. John, Conte have any insightful pre-match comments this week?
I'm not going to lie, I only saw half the press conference. There was questions about Chelsea and obviously about Skip. He said, you can tell he's a bit concerned about Skip because
Did they ask, did you feel dirty managing Chelsea? That's what
he skated past it quite quickly.
Oh, okay.
And he refused. He didn't answer directly about Abramovich, but he just said he was asked about the Chelsea situation. He said, "Oh, we trained this morning," and he sort of skated past it. But obviously, he knows it's not a good time for them. But we'll come to Chelsea later.
Yeah, well, we will get to them. We will get to them. Don't you worry. And we'll get to this as well, Paul, at some point. I'm sure we'll make a note of this and get to this. Are we talking about the season ticket renewal date and the trust letter? I'm sure we'll come on to that later. But if we don't, send it in again. And when
it might have been added to the run sheet about 3 minutes ago.
Good lad. Right, let's talk form. So I think we've got some form graphics to show.
Oh, sorry. Where am I going? United form. There we go.
There we go. So yeah, we can see obviously United are pretty patchy, aren't they? Really. I mean, they got stuff to get.
Whoa! I think talking about patchy, you talking compare us to us.
Well, I mean, yeah. Do you want to put ours? I mean, what have they won? So ours looks better.
Well, yeah, ours looks prettier.
Ours definitely looks better. I mean, they've got a full set of traffic lights there.
I mean, what I'd say
obviously we've both got a defeat to Middlesbrough on there.
They didn't lose to Burnley. They didn't lose to Southampton.
No.
They did score 4 at Leeds, but conceded 2. Watford at home, interesting, 0-0. They struggled, and that was with Ronaldo.
Yeah.
And obviously City just destroyed them, whereas, we made it look easy-ish.
Well, we destroyed City, didn't we? Obviously.
There's ours.
There's our form. So, yeah, 5-0. Look, I mean, you can't. Let's just discount the Middlesbrough one. So, league games.
We actually drew.
Out of the last 4, we've won 3 of them.
Yeah.
Good form team.
No, I'm sorry. I look at that and there's too much red. I mean, there's too much red in the world anyway, but I don't want to see red on a Spurs list. I mean, the defeats, the 2 defeats at home, then the defeat at Burnley.
Yeah, they hurt.
Yeah, Chelsea. I mean, the Chelsea one is the cup, but still, no. I want to see. I'd rather see a bit more yellow and a little less red there.
Well,
but I mean, I've said for a while that it's going to be the amount of games that you win, right? And I've said that if you win more than half your games in the Premier League, you have a good chance of finishing top 4. And if you look, I think Arsenal have won 15 of 25. It's a pretty good thing. And Spurs have won 14 of 26. We are the only 2 in that graphic, apart from Chelsea, that have won more than half our games, and that's it. It's about winning. Draws might, West Ham have been getting points, but it's not really been enough. You need to win games. I think Arsenal have won 8 of their last 10 in the league. That's a problem. So there's no point drawing against Man United and then drawing the next game, because I'd almost rather lose to Man United and then win the next game because you get more points.
Well, we've only beaten them once in the last 7 games. We've played head-to-head. The 6-1 at Old Trafford, where Mourinho was just a Mourinho masterclass. Was it a Lamella masterclass, if I remember right?
Yeah. Lamella got someone sent off, and then we took advantage.
There it is.
Becky's been doing some research.
They're teammates now.
They are.
Of course they are.
Becky, unlike the other amateurs on this show, Becky, you've been doing some research, haven't you?
I have. I just alluded to try and get away from that sort of win lose. I was trying to kind of find some positives to kind of use when we're going up there, and certainly for me, that 6-1, it was behind closed doors. It was a shame that the away fans didn't get to see that. But yeah, Lamella, Coco, masterclass. Martial, just he went down like he'd been shot, didn't he? And it was just it changed the game.
It was amazing.
the key thing I think for that game was the fact that Kane scored a penalty. And when I was looking into this, I thought I can't remember one since, because he gets a lot of stick for so-called diving in the penalty area, but actually we don't have many penalties. So there was a penalty in that game, but and Ndombele scored as well, and I'd completely forgotten that. I don't really remember that goal.
I remember it. Who's Ndombele?
Yeah, exactly. So
you could have bought his gloves. Do you not remember?
Yes, I did.
So that was a pretty memorable moment. But of course, I think the biggest one really is in October when we won the match, but we lost it 3-0. That was the game where we just sort of beat United to Conte, didn't we? They were having that sort of, were they going to get rid of Ollie or were they not? And then who would think that subbing Mora for Bergwijn would be such a significant things at White Hart Lane, and the crowd that sort of changed, and that was the end of Nuno, unfortunately. And I think that picture says it all, really. He never really unfolded his arms for the entire time that he was our manager.
And if you look just north of Bergwijn's head, you can see someone, it looks a bit like Steve Diver, yelling an obscenity at him, but I know Steve sits a bit further that way, so it can't be him. Yeah.
So that was the game we won.
Lady with pink hair, very irritated.
Yes. So, that I think, again, having fans at that game, those that were there, it was horrendous, and that was the turning point. And
that was peak Shan, actually, Becky. She was in my seat for that game.
Was she? The thing that I noticed is that if we do manage to beat United tomorrow, it is the first time we've done the double over them since my very first season as a Spurs fan in 1989. I'm a Lineker girl and followed Lineker, and he was that one who scored the 1-0. I don't remember it, but I've seen it enough times. But another big fact for you, fact fans, if we do beat United tomorrow, we'll have done the double-double over the Manchester clubs this year. And I think that is something that,
Oh, you've hexed it now.
On the train, it'd be like, we've got to do the double-double over the Manchester teams. And I think...
But surely doing the double over Manchester in this case would be losing but somehow winning later on.
Yeah.
Good point.
I think it's the idea of the away game, isn't it? That both away games that we've done.
Yeah,
so.
we lose, we win the war.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wonder what Man United fans think about that game. If they think that they lost out because they didn't get Conte, because I get the impression that none of them really they know he was the best man available, but they want something different. I don't know how they feel, but you look at, obviously Rangnick's not supposed to be there after the summer, but they're all thinking, no, we want a project manager, someone who's going to be with us for a while, and nobody expects that from Conte. Not even Spurs fans really expect that from Conte. So, yeah, I wonder how United fans, I wonder what the county of Surrey really thinks.
I think also with the idea that Poch isn't supposed to be staying at PSG as well, are they just holding out for that? And obviously this week with them going out the Champions League, is it that? But it's always something. I don't know. I've never had an affinity for United whatsoever.
I think you'll find they are waiting for this man.
There's only one coach in there. I'll tell you what, he should be the coach. What a man!
He's gone to Leeds, hasn't he?
Allegedly. Yeah. Okay, so apparently there's rumours that you can insight us on this, HG, as you know all about Ralph Rangnick. Apparently, United players aren't buying onto his methods. Hello.
Speak. We want to hear from.
He's gone.
Okay.
He's gone.
He's gone. I don't blame him. We're a bit scary looking. Mr. Rangnick, what do you want to know about him?
Well, apparently the United players aren't buying into his methods.
Yeah, I mean, what does that mean?
They're not winning matches.
Well, but that's just it. I think that they lost obviously to Man City at the weekend, but their league form hasn't been awful. Drawing against Watford is a bad result, right? But they had 22 shots. So you can't really blame that on the tactics. They just only got 3 of them on target. Is that really Rangnick's fault?
Are you defending Rangnick because he's your man?
I'm defending Rangnick because clearly his success has been about building clubs, right? Like when he took over at Leipzig, they were in the German second division. I don't remember if they went up the first year he was there. They might have done. But like Hoffenheim, he built that club from being, a village team. Hoffenheim is nothing. They think they're owned by some German software guy, and he took his village team that he used to play for in his 20s, and now they're a regular Bundesliga side. And Rangnick was basically the architect of that. I don't think he may not be a great manager, but if anyone knows really what it takes to make a club perform, I hate management speak, but with synergy, like things work together, then Rangnick has proven he can do that. He's maybe not proven it at a club the size of United, who wants success now, but we've seen even down the road, Arteta's been given a couple of years, but it looks like they're finally getting somewhere. And so Rangnick has proven to me that he could, at least as the architect of the club, get United back to where they're probably used to being. But the players that don't seem to like it, well, who are they? Are we talking about Ronaldo? The guy's 37 next year. So he is 37, I think.
Cavani's about 50.
Yeah, it's maybe falling out with Ronaldo. Yes, it's not a great look, but it's all about United next year or the year after next, and Ronaldo won't be around for that. So just like
while you're on a heater, Poch looks very much like he'll be unemployed come the summer, at least, if not before. Do you think he's going to walk straight into that United job?
I suspect United would rather Ten Hag, if I'm honest. I don't think they really want anything to do with Pochettino.
Is that because Ten Hag's won some things?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly.
Without being too brutal about it.
If you're a fan of a different team in England and you saw the team that Spurs had, for a number of years under Poch, we should have won something, right? Even though we know as Spurs fans that he didn't really take the domestic cups that seriously, we still got into a position to win a few of them, and we didn't do it. And if Pochettino's the reason for that, which a lot of us, even Spurs fans, think he might be, I could understand their reticence. But if they're given the option between Ten Hag and Pochettino, I think they would rather have Ten Hag. And Pochettino may well, I don't know where he would go, back to Spain. It's an interesting one.
Tottenham, when Conte goes, as everyone keeps telling me he's going, surely that's it.
Maybe he takes another year out.
Daniel Levy would absolutely take Pochettino back if Conte's causing a stink.
Yeah, he's going to be the next one up. If he's available and Conte's not doing he's not doing his job properly, then of course the fans will want Poch back. I don't want Poch back, and I mean I don't want that now, because I don't think Spurs are in a position. When he took over at Spurs, we had 30 players, and you could get rid of 6 or 7 before even starting the rebuild. Now you need to get your purchases right, and I don't think there's much evidence that Pochettino ever really did that. Certainly not without Mitchell. So if Pochettino wants to keep whatever legacy he has at Spurs, he shouldn't be coming back after Conte. He really shouldn't.
Well, here's a strange one for you, John. Sam says PSG want Paratici. I suspect that he may take Conte within Poch's return. I mean, that's a bit tenuous, isn't it?
I've not heard that link, but obviously they've got the is it Leonardo, the Brazilian guy? I can't remember his name now. He's their technical director. Yeah, I think he's quite highly thought of over there. But if I was the owners, I'm thinking we've played a lot of money into this team, and yet again we've gone out. We've tried. Look, Tuchel was there, and gets sacked, goes and wins the Champions League somewhere else. Is there something a bit Spursy about PSG? The fact that they completely fell apart last Wednesday night, whenever it was, would sort of make you think there is.
Do you know what I think it might be? Like if you were winning most of your league games 2-3-0, right, which they have the capability of doing. I don't think they are doing that, but they don't really have a challenger. So when it gets to the Champions League, it's maybe the first time all season that they're finally having to actually face a decent side, one that can give them a game. And when the heat comes on, if you're not ready for it, then you're going to crack. I'm still surprised that they did, because they've got players who should be able to deal with pressure. But if it only happens once a year, twice a year at most, then perhaps it's only been a couple of weeks since they were knocked out of the French Cup. So maybe that has something to do with it. If they were in a more difficult league, or certainly had better competition, then maybe they would do better in the Champions League as well.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? I've got to say this one. Yes, we've locked her in a broom cupboard. That's why she's not here. She's not going to be attending Old Trafford tomorrow. it's fantastic news, and I'd like to take some personal credit when we win. But there you go.
If she did go to Man United, could we send her in a United shirt? Would that help?
Kind of like a reverse jinx.
Yeah, like go on, Shan, off you go. Spurs are playing in red today.
Becky, coming to you. So just sticking with that performance by PSG, would you describe the second half as peak Spursy or?
Yeah, I think it was Richard Keys. I saw a tweet from him saying that you can take the Tottenham out of the man or something, or the man out of Tottenham, and you just think, yeah, the defending was absolutely awful. It was very Lloris-esque, playing it out from the back that we've been doing recently, and it was just woeful. But I think I do agree with HG. It's like Ajax. If you don't play in a league that has a standard where you're challenged every week, as soon as you get those type of fixtures, I don't know though. If they've got it and to kind of push it and keep going and once they kind of they had a 2-0 lead at half time, over on aggregate, it shouldn't have turned out the way it did, and I do feel for Poch, but I think it is the lack of situation in their own leagues that causes it, because like you said, they've got 4 different managers I think have gone out now in the quarterfinal, haven't they, for PSG or something like that, and that can't be just the manager's fault. You've got these players that they are world-class players. It shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen, but it does. The stats show, going back to Spurs, yes, we should absolutely be thankful for that. Loads of reasons to be thankful for Shan. She does loads for the show, loads for the Cheeseman. Of course, I do jest, but she does appear to be a jinx, so I have lots of agreement with it. The stats show when Conte has had 5 days or more, no midweek game, Spurs do pretty well. Good sign, John?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, they United they didn't play midweek, did they? No. So they played Sunday. So they've had extra day's rest, but they got a run around on Sunday. And we had a relatively easy game, apart from the fact our players just wanted to kick Richarlison, which was quite entertaining. But hopefully it's a good sign. We've only got those 3 players injured. It means he can pick the same team again, barring Sessegnon for Reguilon. So hopefully, yes, it's a good sign. Man United do seem to be getting results, but don't seem convincing. So hopefully, my only real concern is probably Sancho against Doherty and Romero, especially when we don't want Romero to get booked 3 times in the next 6 games because of the 10-game suspension.
Okay. United have also got the second leg of Champions League versus Atletico on Tuesday evening, so they might have an eye on that as well. John, do you think?
Yeah, so Raniac did say in the press conference about, when he's talking about McTominay, he did say he might be able to play, but with Tuesday in mind, especially as a calf injury, he tends to be more cautious, so he probably won't play tomorrow, but he generally does. He's taken the Spurs game as his most serious game currently, apart from that one issue. But you're always going to have that in mind, aren't you? The Atletico game. They're in a good position. They're 1-1 going back to the home game. But Simeone's a wily old fox and is quite capable of getting a result at Old Trafford. So, and it's difficult for them because the fight for 4th is on. It's probably Arsenal's at the moment, with us next and then United, and then probably West Ham, if you look at the games in hand. So he's really got... United aren't going to win the Champions League, are they, realistically? But you've got to be in it to win it.
Did anyone think we'd get to the final the year we got to the final?
No, to be fair, no.
Yeah, well, they did. Me. Yeah. But most sane people didn't. So who knows? All right, then let's go around the room with some predictions. John, sticking with you, what's your score prediction?
Oh, right. I'm going to try and do the reverse jinx. I'm going to go 2-1 to United, following our win-loss, and hope I'm completely wrong.
2-1 to United. Okay. HG?
It's Spurs. The worst thing for Spurs would be a draw, 2-2.
Okay. Becky, can you top that?
I was going to say 2-2, but I'm going to say 3-2 Spurs. Let's have a Kane penalty. Have one of those at Old Trafford.
Another last-minute winner, huh?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say 2-1 Spurs. Kane and Son, why not? Assisting each other. Wonder what the odds are on that. Pretty good. Probably pretty bad, actually. Let us know what your predictions are in the comments. Brian's saying 3-1 Spurs. Stevie 2-1 Spurs. So there's a degree of confidence amongst the Spurs fans. That's normally when it all goes wrong.
How long have these people been Spurs fans? Seriously.
Well, I prefer to be optimistic and, half glass full than half glass empty. Stevie, how are we doing, Stevie? Absolute legend. Thank you.
He aged with you? What?
Agreed.
He agreed. There he is. That's his agreeing face. Love you, Stevie. Get better soon. He's got COVID, poor chap. So, best wishes, Steve. Battle for fourth then. So, Becky, I come to you. Do you think, it's on the run sheet, Arsenal are in the driving seat. Do you agree?
Yeah, there is they're 3 points above us. We've got the match still to play with them, which still hasn't been rearranged for. Luckily on Friday we're kind of slowly catching up the goal difference. We're at +8 now, and they've got +12. But they've got to play Liverpool because that was rearranged from the Carabao Cup final. So their running is not ideal. On paper, ours is an easier running, but as we all know, we don't tend to perform against the lesser teams. West Ham, they've played too many games, so the game's in hand. I just think eventually, if they do get through against Seville, that will catch them up. I think they'll start to kind of slip away. But yeah, it's certainly Woolwich's to lose. But I think with us having to play United and Arsenal,
it's still anyone's, isn't it? Look, the reality is, I don't think Wolves are in the race. Technically they might be, but I think from Spurs, Spam, United and Arsenal, any of those could go into the mix. And that's before Chelsea get disqualified from the competition. So it really could be anyone's,
Yeah, absolutely.
Eddie Howe, just won Manager of the Month, John. Does this show how bad Steve Bruce is?
Well, we had some Geordie fans on, didn't we, earlier in the year, and they literally hated Bruce. There's
a Geordie fan who keeps coming up in the chat.
Alan.
Alan
he's like Alan Thompson.
Resident.
Yeah, he's good lad. They all hated him, and we were like, "Oh, you're being a bit harsh." But to be fair,
Eddie Howe, did you say?
There it is. Eddie Howe has done a good job. He's done a really good job there. He signed a couple of good players.
Here he is. There you go.
Yeah, and to be fair, I didn't see it. I didn't have any interest in that game, weirdly. It just was like, I know it's a big game, but yeah, Man United right now, Man City, Man United could have won that game 2-0 and I'd have been like, okay.
They were absolutely shambolic, HG. Honestly.
So they really are they really are well rested for the Spurs game then.
It could have been 7, honestly. They were terrible.
It was a really good goal by Sancho, though, I have to say. Class goal.
Every silver lining and all that.
Well, yeah.
Eddie Howe, Manager of the Month, HG. Did you expect when he went to Newcastle? They were sort of like gutted they weren't getting Ten Hag or Poch or Conte. I ended up with old Eddie Howe, and he's turned it around there, hasn't he?
They ended up with a coach, right? Yes, we all know they had lots of money, and we all knew that they could have done something in January. But we talked on the show about, well, who's really going to go there in January? We didn't really think any big names were going to go there. And so he had to kind of work with what he had, and they've signed actually pretty well. The Brighton defender is no world beater, but he was better than what they had. And Chris Wood is pretty much a guaranteed Premier League goal scorer. He should score them 4 or 5 goals between now and the end of the season, which is what they needed. And with St. Maximin, they haven't even been playing really. St. Maximin has been injured for 3 or 4 games, but they keep on winning. And he's made a player out of Jolinton. They're not conceding that many goals, and so they're always in games. And I think that was probably, I don't think any of us thought they were going to be as good as they are. But so that probably does say a lot about Eddie Howe, and deservedly Manager of the Month. To be unbeaten for 2.5 months now in the Premier League, even with a couple of COVID matches being postponed, 2.5 months is a long time. Fully deserves it.
Yeah, and of course, the curse of the Manager of the Month is what? You then go and lose your next 3, right?
Yeah.
So their game is, don't you? They're playing Chelsea.
Yeah.
At the bridge.
So it's the battle of the billionaire fraud people.
Good
right?
guys against evil, surely. What are you talking about?
They were all evil. All of them.
What, the
Okay.
government against Newcastle? Which way round?
Good question, yeah. A country against Newcastle, yeah. The whole of the UK. Right, birthdays. Let's get back to business. Happy 85th birthday to Bill Dodge, forward. Played 6 games for us. If you know, between 1957 and 62, you've surpassed yourself with this one, John.
I know.
Isn't
You
it
wait,
Davo's favourite player as a kid?
There's an interesting tidbit about this one, though.
Go on, then. You go for it.
Okay. So apparently, he in 1959, after a string of poor results, Bill Nicholson dropped Danny Blanchflower and put in favour of young Dodge, the first of 57 players to be given their debut by Nicholson. So he was the first player that Nicholson gave his debut to. So, random fact. I'd never heard of him until last night.
Very good. We've also got Garth Crooks' 64th birthday. Becky, does that make you feel old?
Yeah, and someone put a picture on Twitter yesterday with the FA Cup, and he had the top of the FA Cup on his head, and somebody put, "What's that thing on his head?" And I thought, yeah, that is the thing. People don't know what the FA Cup looks like. But yeah, no, I remember Garth Crooks, and I remember him on TV as well, and he always has nice things to say about Spurs. That's why it was a bit strange on Monday night with Teddy Sheringham. You know, a lot of love for Teddy Sheringham, but he just really struggles to say positive things. And he was saying about Kane leaving to get trophies and yada yada. But yeah, Garth Crooks is a great guy.
Yeah, and you know, I think he was signed from Stoke as well, or as Seb would call it, the Cheshire Borders. Yeah, and have we got a fact? We have. So, how tall, Becky, do you think Garth Crooks is?
Good question. About 5'6".
5'6". HG, are you short?
Yeah, I know. I just thought he was taller than 5'6". Maybe 5'10".
5'8", the same height as John.
Hooray!
Who, by the way, is really short. He's shorter than he looks on camera, HG.
Yeah. But not as short as you look on camera.
That's only if I pump my chair up a little bit, I look even bigger. There you go. And we've also got George Goldsmith, right back, who played one game for us in 1934. I mean, these are brilliant, John. You've absolutely surpassed yourself. And on this day, or as near as damn it, so the 12th of March 2017, we played our last ever FA Cup game at the old White Hart Lane. Now, the question is, and you can join along the chat, who did we play? HG, stop Googling.
No, I'm not Googling. My hands are here.
Becky, I can see the reflection in your glasses. Becky, any ideas?
No, sadly, I can't remember. I don't think it was a Premier League team.
Correct.
You are correct. HG, any offers?
Yeah. Is it? I wasn't going to get this straight away. Is it Millwall?
Oh, it is. Yeah, we weren't because you were typing it into Google. That's why.
No. Because I genuinely went back and I was thinking when we lost to Palace. So Palace was my first thought, but then you went 17. I was like, no, wait, actually, we got to the semis that year. So yeah, Wickham in the round before, and then Millwall, right? Or Wickham at some point.
And the goal scorers were Ericsson, a Son hat-trick, Delhi, and Vincent Janssen, of all people. So there we go. Good stuff. What else? Right, 11th of March, 1995.
Sorry, that's the best memory of that game. Kane did injure his ankle.
Yeah.
Against Millwall. Yeah.
Well, this should be relevant to you, this HG. 11th of March 1995. Does that mean anything to you?
Yeah, best Spurs game of my life.
Talk us through it then, HG.
Talk us through it. I was 16, and I took the train up from Milton Keynes.
Not quite that long-winded.
No, well, there you go. All right. So, but no, seriously, I'd never been to an away game really of that distance. I'd been to Southampton because I lived down that way, and I'd been at QPR because it's London.
Yeah.
But going up to Liverpool, 16, I got on the train at Milton Keynes. All the Spurs fans were already on it. I had no idea where I was going when I got to Liverpool. I hadn't, because you didn't look things up, right? I mean, I didn't
follow the Spurs fans, right?
So I did. I followed the Spurs fans to the ground. The game itself was incredible. I mean, it was really just a brilliant game. Meat pies were good. Everything about that day was good. But I hadn't even looked at the times of the trains coming home, so I almost missed the last train coming home because I was just like, oh, we won. Now where do I go? I had really no idea where I was. But it was a brilliant, brilliant day. And when we go a month from now and we start talking about the semi-final, I'm glad I'm not on that show because I don't want to talk about the semi-final. But the quarter-final was a brilliant, brilliant afternoon.
Goal scorers, do you remember?
Of course. Sheringham got ours. Fowler scored for them after Mark Walters bamboozled us. And then Klinsmann with the winner in the last minute or 89th minute or whatever. John Scales was involved in that goal. I mean, we weren't a good side, but we deserved to beat Liverpool that day. It was a really good game of football, and we came out on top. And I mean, Sheringham's goal. There's a famous photo of him kind of celebrating with the fans, and he's kind of just like he's got arms to the side, and I was he was at us, so I remember looking at him.
Yeah.
But like I asked for that photo for my 18th birthday. It was
who'd have thought it was that guy that would be slagging off Spurs and telling Gary Kane he needs to move on all those years?
Gary Kane.
He's the other brother. He's the third one.
Harry's the third one. I said Harry.
We got was that
Barry? I said 3-0 last week.
Who's Barry Kane, caller?
Barry Kane.
Barry Kane. Gary Kane.
Larry
Kane.
Larry. Sammy. I don't know. Right. John, there's a John. Anyone would think you wrote this run sheet because there's a game you went to here, 11th of March, the year 2000. Spurs 7, Southampton 2. Talk us through that then, while I get a drink. So you can drag it out a little bit longer. Tell us about the trip to the ground. You know,
I can't really remember. I lived in Portsmouth and I went up to the game with my mate Welsh Dave, and we sat in the old Park Lane lower tier. And Spurs were pretty poor. And they had a new signing, an Egyptian, I can't remember his name, fullback who scored. And Joe Tessum scored. And they were 2-1 up. Our goal was a Dean Richards own goal. And then we suddenly scored 3 very quickly, just before half-time, including Paul Jones, the keeper, doing basically what Ben Foster did last night, kicking it straight to Stefan Everson, who scored from 40 yards because he had an empty net to go in. And then, so it's 4-2 at half-time, even though we'd been really poor. And then second half, we scored another 3 goals, and it was a Stefan Everson hat-trick. I think he scored 2 hat-tricks for us, and that the first one we mentioned the other day was against Sunderland, and this was the second. And we were just all over them. It was such a strange game that Glenn Hoddle, Southampton bossed us for half, and then we just ruined them second half, and it was George Graham. Graham team scored 7 goals. Just bizarre.
I literally have no recollection of that whatsoever.
It's on YouTube, mate, so you can watch it.
Okay.
But yeah, Maurizio Tirico down the wing, Steve Carr on the other wing, right. Ginola. Yeah. Chris
Brilliant.
Armstrong scored twice.
You could play Chris Armstrong, wasn't he? Very underrated.
Hit and miss. But he'd been getting a lot of grief from the crowd, and he missed a really good chance first half. And when he did score in the first half, he basically refused to celebrate. A bit like we've seen with like Sanchez recently and other players like that. He almost had a bit of a strop about it.
Okay. Well, back to current affairs and a bit of discussion around a couple of things, season tickets and Chelsea. So obviously the letter that the Supporters Trust have sent to the board basically says, can you give us, can you put the deadline back a little bit because fans are a little bit under pressure right now. Becky, what's your thoughts on all this business? I take it you've got a season ticket.
No, I'm a Hotspur Plus member, but yeah.
Would you renew it now if you had one?
When you talked about this on Monday, it's a similar situation, isn't it? I think if you like you said before, if it's £100 and you talked about the price freeze and you're going to pay, you're going to pay. I understand why the club bring it forward. I think we're not in the Champions League, and does that make any difference? But I think, without sounding political, the cost of living's going up, and April seems to be a month we're all really dreading because of whatever bills we're going to get sent and that sort of thing. That it just doesn't sound like they've read the room again. Would it make any difference if they kept it 6 weeks back? I really don't think it would. So I just think it's another situation where whoever's organised it hasn't really thought about the fans. And there will be some that will pay it and won't think about it, and there will be others that will think actually it is affecting what we're going to do about it. And it's a shame, really. It's not a good look, really, for us again.
HG, you normally have strong feelings about this kind of thing. Club getting it wrong, misreading the room again.
I think the club have read the room perfectly as far as they're concerned, which is the only room they ever read. If they leave it 6 weeks, things could be much worse 6 weeks from now. People could have even more fears about the cost of everything else. So if by doing it this way, they're hedging their bets a little bit. But yeah, it's never been about what's good for the fans. It's always been about them trying to maximize the revenue for the club and guaranteeing themselves things. I get the logic. I hate it, but I get why they're doing it. But yeah, just keep things as they are, right? I mean, if you're going to freeze the season ticket prices, why do you have to change the system involved? I mean, especially when a lot of them, I mean, you can pay quarterly, right? Or monthly. I don't know the systems for the season ticket, but it's not as if you have to find $1,000 in one go. You just have to commit to paying it, which I suppose is enough. But it's kind of like, we're doing something nice for you by freezing it, but actually what we're doing is making your life more difficult, and you're supposed to be happy that there's been a price freeze. It's not good enough.
And John, I'll take your view as well as we're going around the room.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I mean, from an accounting point of view, I would assume that all this money will be paid forward into next year's accounts anyway and released throughout the year as the games are played. That's, so is it a cash flow issue? As far as we know, they're in a decent position cash flow wise. The letter I read it earlier was basically suggesting that they're justifying it because of getting it all done so that if they need to sell tickets to new people and if people want to make seat changes, but then a good point is made that surely in this digital age, this doesn't take weeks and weeks to do. They can do it quite quickly. I know that they invite people to come to the stadium to look at a new seat if they want to, but it does seem, it's definitely like they've read the room wrong. Is there an underlying reason why they've done this? I don't really understand. It's very odd.
What they've got is this big model of the stadium with like 62,000 pins, and they individually move one by one to figure out.
Has he got Caller's face on one in the north stand?
It might well have.
Got the little emojis that we produce. There's Conte's little seat. He's on there, and yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. You're right. Digital age, it doesn't take long at all, right? But yeah, I'm saying no more.
It's all done by computer, isn't it? Well, a price freeze. That's not the only thing frozen right now in London. Because there's certainly a good news story in town. I've seen this today. Take a good long look at that. I could look at it all day. The worst day in Chelsea's very short history, do you think, Becky?
Yeah, I sort of said earlier on, you have a great week when Spurs win 5-0, but when as everything was sort of dripped out yesterday and continued today, it's just been hilarious. And there's people that work for the club, but the bigger picture is they bought it and they bought it with the wrong money, and it's coming back to them. And as soon as we hear more about it, the better, because it's just hilarious. And it's Stamford Bridge is falling down, I think, is what we're going to be singing tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a good song.
There's been some great ones. I mean, this is a classic. So yeah, they'll be supporting Newcastle now, and of course there we go. It couldn't really happen to a nicer club, could it, John?
Absolutely, it's fantastic. I mean, I do feel sorry for the staff. And a little bit sorry for the fans, although they've had such a good time over the last 20 years with all this money, which seems to have come from interesting resources, shall we say.
The
But-
Russian people. Yeah, the Russian people. It's basically,
right, okay,
they've been bankrolling Chelsea. That's really good use of money, isn't it?
Well, unfortunately, not for us, all the Russian people. But yeah, it's very strange. They've got to sort it out. The question is, does the government just sell it and take the money themselves, or does Bramwich give it away for free? But, he's no doubt trying to find a seller and saying, I'll give it to you for free. Give me a nice brown envelope with 3 billion round the corner in about a year's time or something, isn't he?
Well, he's not going to have a leg to stand on, is he? I would imagine this has got to be the end for those oligarchs.
Oh, yeah, no, he's gone. There's no way he's coming back.
That's it. Actually, I don't think he'll have a say in who takes the club over. I really can't see it. Really can't. HG, your take?
I'm just smiling. I'm just happy about the whole thing. It's just like trying to figure out when are they going to run out of money. It's brilliant. Is it going to happen before Easter? My daughter's birthday in 2 weeks. I won't need to buy her a bike if this happens. She'll get whatever she wants.
Hang on, your daughter's birthday present depends on your mood on what's happened to Chelsea.
She might get more if Chelsea go bankrupt. I'll be giving out money left, right, and centre. Your wife, you want a kitchen? Brilliant, have it, because it's not funded by dirty Russians. No, I enjoy the idea of them going bankrupt. I don't think it's going to happen, but they're like the fact that they're still defending it. That's what gets me. Like, everyone's known that it's been dodgy, but they don't seem to get. Well, everyone else is dodgy.
Yeah.
Well, but so your problem.
Newcastle are dodgy.
Yeah. The problem is that it's not that they're dodgy. It's the fact that they're being singled out. What? I mean, is that the world we live in? Maybe if you have no morals whatsoever, you spend your time thinking about, whatabouting everything. Fact is, they don't have a leg to stand on. The whole country wants them to go bankrupt. They really do. It would be amazing. Best thing for British morale in a decade? I love it.
Since we won the war.
Well.
Can we send them to the Scottish Third Division, like happened to Rangers?
No, was it the Isthmian? I can't even say it. Whatever the lowest league in London is, fine. Send them there.
Get them to come and play Bognor. That'd be quite entertaining.
Yeah.
I mean, how likely do we think any of this stuff is to actually happen? Becky, what's your view? I mean, I can't see them being made to go bankrupt, surely.
Well, I think this is why it's been such hilarity, because I don't really think we thought the government would ever do this. They were mentioning that they were going to sanction him, and we were like, they're not going to do it. And then, all of a sudden, about 10 o'clock on Thursday, they did. And it kind of took everyone by surprise. I can't imagine them going down and being liquidated and all of that. But then, Bury and what's going on at Derby, and there are precedents, points deductions. But for me, I just want them to take away the 16-17 Premier League and give it to the runners-ups. That'll do. That'll do me.
It would happen if it wasn't Spurs that was second.
Yeah,
you just know it, don't you?
100%. If that was Liverpool ever the victims, that would definitely be on the cards. I mean, what's that you got there?
My husband is a Liverpool supporter, hence being up here in the Northwest. So this is my Champions League mug that we had to purchase that's got both of them on it. Yeah.
To be honest, I'm surprised you haven't broken that yet.
Ugh.
Accidentally on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Got stuck in the dishwasher and I couldn't,
So mine's fine, but I broke yours. That's what
John, do you think any of this stuff's actually going to happen? I mean, at the moment they're frozen. I think the reality is the government's obviously going to allow them to pay the wage bill. Beyond that, what's your thoughts?
All the noises coming out of the government are they don't want to destroy the football club, unfortunately.
Which is a shame.
It is a real shame. I think that once the hierarchy, the people who run the club day to day, and I watched Emma Hayes last night, Spurs fan, who is the women's coach. She spoke very well after the game last night, saying about we need to speak to these guys to actually explain how the football club runs and what our needs are day to day. I mean, if it's true that they can't even fill up the coach with petrol, that's just baffling, isn't it, really?
You can't imagine that's going to happen. I mean,
just ridiculous. They can spend 20 grand on an away game, but they can't actually spend money. what that shows is the government have literally gone, right, we're going to control everything here. We want to see exactly what's happening, but not really thought through the logistics. But no, I don't think Chelsea are going to go bankrupt, but it depends how long this sale takes, because if they do restrict them, they're going to lose a lot of players.
I think that's the exciting thing.
Yeah.
£5 megabus will get them wherever they need to be. I don't know what the problem is. It's even in their club's colours already. Like, suck it up, Buttercup. Just take the train. Yeah, okay, the train might be more expensive than flying right now, but just find a way to get there. You drive yourselves.
Can you imagine
it? Like, stick 4 of you in a car, 5 if Mason Mount can fit.
Get them on the tube for the London fixtures, couldn't you?
It's nonsense. Like, Chelsea fans would drive them themselves, right? So they can get there. Oh, please, fuel poverty. Nuh-uh.
Well, I'm sure they've all been paid enough dirty Russian money to, provide plenty of transport for themselves if necessary. The contract situation is an interesting one. Christensen has decided to join Barca, according to Fabrizio Romano, and Rudiger has been approached apparently by 3 clubs and will decide soon. And Jorginho's contract runs out 2023. So, and Azpilicueta as well. So there's several players that could be out the door, John. Long-standing Chelsea players. Should we be moving in for the kill and really rubbing salt in the wounds here and offering some big fat wedge for any of the Chelsea players coming up to the end of their deals?
Well, the ones that are leaving, I think most of them know where they're going already. I don't think any of them are going to come to Spurs in the grand scheme of things. The thing about Chelsea, as we know, they've got about 500 million academy players on loan around the world.
Yeah.
They'll have enough players. Obviously, I think the big loss, all 3 of those centre-backs are quite a big loss for them, although they're getting older. It's just whether they can sign players to replace them, or a bit like, when Lampard was there, they had quite a good start having to play the youngsters. And knowing our luck, they'll go on and win the league next season with all these loan players that have been around the world that we've never heard of.
Say that, John. We're going to win the league. Conte's going to have a full summer. Poch is going to stay abroad.
Only if, as HG said the other week, we don't qualify for Europe and we have a free week each week.
Yeah, true.
Not going to happen. We will get some Europe. Yeah.
Chelsea's wage bill is reported to be £6 million a week, which is quite high. What do we make, Becky, of the Chelsea fans singing Abramovich's name last night against Norwich? I mean, distasteful or what?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think from not that I'm defending the players, but the players have to go out and have play a match. There was all the business about whether 3 were going to be on their shirts or not, and then while they're doing the coin toss, they're singing that in the background, and it's just Chelsea, unfortunately. When they did it at the weekend against Burnley, and then John Terry did that tweet, didn't he, of him standing holding the Premier League trophy. They don't listen and they just carry on. So, they deserve everything they get, really. But yeah, it's when I'm working with kids and you've got Chelsea fans, some of them, and you're thinking it's immoral, really. I think the way the fans do behave, and like you said, that's why it's so hilarious. Everything that's coming to them, really.
Well, let's hope they get everything they got. John, have you got any numbers about how much money they've lost over the last few years?
Well, I'm missing a couple of years because I ran out of time today, but I know they made a pre-tax loss of 155.9 million last year. The year before, 35 million profit, apparently. And obviously that won't account for the likes of Lukaku, who only came in last summer, who was, 85 million, which I know it's spread over the 3 or 4 years. But even going back to 15-16, they made losses. They rarely make a profit. They're now going to have to make this selling of academy players more sustainable, and Abramovich won't be able to bail them out. It was 1.5 billion in directors' loans that he's having to write off. I think Davo told us it was 250 million he put in a couple of years ago. So
I think the Premier League need to look at how they allow that level of financial doping to go, because even if he sold the club, he could write those loans off, and surely that breaks fair play rules, or should do.
Well, they're a waste of time, the fair play rules, aren't they? Man City have got away with it. UEFA tried to pull them up on it, and they took them to court and won.
Yeah,
I think they're just a bit loose. There's so many complications of what you can do. But But who's realistically going to come in and spend 2-3 billion and then invest in that team?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
very unlikely you're going to get another Abramovich or Qataris come in. It'll be a Joe Lewis who invests for the long term, I imagine, and they have to be more sustainable.
I mean, this is a fair point, isn't it? Let's hope they keep seeing this, and the more likely sponsors are to desert them. I think 3 have already walked away, haven't they, or suspended their sponsorship. Nike have said they're keeping it as is for now, I believe. But I mean, if public opinion turns, you can guarantee Nike will be out of there faster than you can say just do it. True. Are there any? Who's next? That's the question. I mean, there's so many dodgy Russians in London that. There's one. Yeah, I mean the most Russian-looking person from in London. Why does he dress like that? Does anyone actually know?
Because he's short.
What's that got to do with it?
Short people, some of them have a complex.
What? So you decide I'm going to be a Russian?
Yeah.
I'm not getting it.
He obviously likes the hat because when it was cold. I'm
John,
guessing.
you're short. Do you wear a Russian hat?
I'm not that short, but no, I don't.
There you go. Nonsense.
Why do you wear what you wear, caller?
What do you mean, what do I wear?
No, why do you wear what you wear?
Well, not because I'm tall.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Because I feel like it.
Okay, fine.
Quite often, I get my coach's outfit on and my tracky top and all that, and I feel.
All right, Wayne, we get it, Wayne. Stop it.
I mean, just bear in mind, Sullivan is a porn king, isn't he? So he's going to wear something a bit odd.
He's won some dodgy Russian porn. That's the problem. Only 55 likes, 154 people watching, 55 likes. So if you are watching, please do hit the like button. We've got loads of time this evening to talk about whatever. We can talk a bit more about financial doping, or whatever we like, really. What you got for us, John?
Well, obviously we've talked about our supporters trust putting a thing out. The Chelsea Supporters Trust put some stuff out today regarding what happens in the long run, and they particularly asked for I'm trying to find the wording, a golden share as part of it. So fans having a representation on the board, which I think is a really interesting point. Obviously, Chelsea have got this strange thing where the ground itself or the pitch is owned by the fans or a group of fans.
Yeah.
Obviously, the European Super League cropped up almost 11 months ago. And in the fallout from that, we were promised we were going to have a fan on our board. What's happened with that? It's gone very, very quiet. Should it take 8-9 months to sort that out? I appreciate that not everyone is qualified to be a director on a football club.
No.
But there are a lot of, there are people who are qualified to do that role, I think. I mean, I've met some through this channel. It seems very strange that the club are dragging their feet on that one. What do you think, HG?
I'm reading up about how tall David Sullivan is. I wasn't listening to a word. I think he's about 5'2". He is small. Not John average size small, but tiny small.
I mean, that is tiny.
That's why he's got a complex.
I don't know.
I'm not shortest.
No. There's a lot about David Sullivan that ticks a lot of boxes. I mean, they don't call it a Napoleon complex for seriously, nah. Anyway, let's move on. I'm sorry, John, I wasn't listening, but I was genuinely interested to find out how short he was.
I was basically talking about the Spurs representation on the board that was supposed to happen, and I was saying
it was never gonna happen.
No, I mean it's all right. Divers, he's putting his hand up. He just wants a free ticket to the Tunnel Club, doesn't he?
Of course he does.
Oh,
what? As opposed to the one his parents pay for. I don't know if they pay for it. I don't know. Even if they do, good luck to him, right? If my parents would, if they could, they would. So it's okay.
Business as usual, yeah. I've got to say, I thought the tribute was really good at the stadium the other day. Really, really poignant. Let's take some questions. So if you've got questions for the show, just drop them in and we'll go through as many as we can. Arsenal January revival or false dawn. I'm sick of hearing HG's views on this. So, Becky, you tell me what you think.
I think the early season, the way they were playing, all the red cards they were getting, they didn't score, I don't think, until February or something, didn't they, this year? And then it just seems to have clicked, unfortunately. Not being in Europe is helping them. But like I said before, they've got a tough run in. They've got some tough games. So hopefully they get hammered in all of them and we'll be all right.
HG, false dawn, hopefully.
The false dawn for what?
Arsenal.
Oh, no, I think they're here to stay, sadly. I said a few weeks ago that I thought they were best placed to really take advantage of the fact if they get fourth, because they've got a very young team. Now, they spent a lot of money, and it was money from the owners, I think, that made them go out and buy, Ben White and Odegaard and the keeper. But they're winning games and doing it relatively comfortably. They're not relying on last-minute winners to do it. So you have to be nervous. We all made fun of Arteta, and probably rightly so, but he's got rid of a few players that were causing issues, it seems, and now Smith Rowe and Saka have played together for years. You can see that it is a worry. They will need to buy at least one striker in the summer because Lacazette might go. But if Arsenal do qualify for the Champions League, he may stay, and he's a decent player. He may not score 20, 25 goals for them, but they play better with him in the side. So you have to be nervous. I don't want to see Arsenal do well. I want to see them crash and burn. But right now, they're pretty consistent, and they're sadly consistently good.
Troy Parrott's been doing very well on loan, I believe. John?
Yes, he has.
We've got some footage of.
We have got a little footage.
Was it a brace the other day?
Yeah. This was the other night for MK Doms. Not sure how this will sound on your TVs at home, but I will press play.
That second goal was Kane-esque, wasn't it, HG? Arrowed into the bottom corner, took his time, knew where it was. It's almost like inside of the post, accurate.
I know, and it looked like, weirdly, that it almost curved inwards. Like it started even wider and then moved its way back. I like Troy Parrott. I've said it numerous times on here. I think he's a very good player. And the only thing that stops him from being maybe what we would want him to be is going to be him. But he seems to be playing, very regularly for MK Dons. He's getting good reports. He's not scoring as many, but I think I said a week or two ago that when you compare his record and Kane's at similar ages, there's not much in it. Because Kane didn't score too many when he was out on loan. No. So you have to be hopeful that it will continue and that he will actually then go on to be a regular for Spurs. But you can't help but look at that and think there's a player there, and I'm glad that he's on Spurs' books.
How long's he got left on his contract, John? Do you know?
Is it 2 years?
No, just the one.
Has he not got Has he not got one of these Daniel Levy extra years that he likes to add on?
You'd hope so, but I don't think he does. I mean, I remember when it came up about when he could sign his first deal at 17 or whatever it was, that it wasn't a long deal because I think at that point it could only be 3 years. I think that was the maximum allowed. So that he spent 2 years out on loan pretty much now. You'd hope that Spurs are a pretty good place for him to be, because at some point Kane is going to age out or go somewhere else, and we may need a striker. So if he gets the minutes for his career, it would be good. But I think we talked about this on Monday. If I'm Parrott, I'm thinking about where I'm going to play, and if MK Dons get promoted, okay, then I'll sign an extension at Spurs. Gives me a nice pay rise because he has all the leverage. Parrott. Spurs won't want to let him go for nothing.
Well, we've lost one striker for next to nothing already, haven't we? January, Markandé.
Yeah, I think there's a difference. Markandé hadn't played anywhere. He'd only been a Spurs youth product. Parrott is further down the line, and I just think that for Parrott,
plays for Ireland,
Yeah, Parrott can get himself a really nice pay rise and basically say to Spurs, "Pay me what I want." Because it will cost you more to get someone else in. And maybe it's an investment. Maybe he'll get 30, 40 grand a week. I genuinely think he could, because he knows the value of what he could become. And maybe he goes and plays another year at loan at MK Dons. Maybe he doesn't play regularly for Spurs until the start of 23, 24, or even be a squad member. But as Spurs, you'd have to want to keep him around. Unless he does what Markanday does and says, I'm not signing a new deal because I want to go and play somewhere.
Yeah.
I would be doing everything I could to make sure Parrott sticks around.
Which is possible. Becky, have you seen Parrott play? Are you a Parrott fan?
Yeah, I saw this week on Twitter, he said that something like he wants to do this forever. He wants to be a professional footballer. This is what he wants to do. And it's something along the lines of he knows he's got to do the right things to get there, which is kind of alluding to the fact that there has been some troubles. But yeah, good luck to him. Like I said with Skip before, I was really surprised when Markanday went to Blackburn. I thought he was going to be the future for us. And then, he went on, like you said, on a really kind of, seemed like a low fee. It's a tricky one, isn't it? As to when to kind of call them back. Like you said, until Kane is not really here, they probably know they're not going to be that second striker. Look at the players that we have now that, come on, they don't get enough minutes. And sometimes being out on loan is the best thing for them, really.
Maybe it will come down to what Conte wants. I mean, Conte's probably never seen him train. So if in the summer he comes back and Conte sees something, then Conte might say, no, I want you here and I will play you. You will get minutes off the bench or whatever. And then Parrott might be more inclined to sign. But that to me is the key aspect. Like, what does Parrott want to do? For a club the size of Spurs, I don't think he's going to get a better chance to go on and play for another team our size. If he leaves, he'll go to a team maybe that's a bit lower in the table, but maybe they'll think, okay, like Southampton have been paying Broja on loan for most of the season now, so Parrott might be thinking, well, I can go there and do that job and actually be their main striker. But I hope that Spurs outbid anyone else and say, no, like, we see what you've done, you've knuckled down, and we want to reward you. Even if he hasn't played for Spurs, we want to reward you for what you've done because you probably deserve it, and it's good for the club to do so.
Absolutely. In terms of questions, how's this one? This always leads into a good debate. I have to go get another drink. So, John, I'm going to set you up with this one, and I'm sure everyone will have a two-penneth here. Does the Chelsea situation, blood money, sports doping in football make you appreciate the job Levy is doing for Spurs financially? John, off you go. That should keep you going for at least 20 minutes.
To start off with this, I'm going to go a bit of a tangent and say, I don't know if you saw this today, but Piers Morgan got a load of grief because a tweet he did in 2014 or something has been retweeted and copied and shared, where he said, I wish Abramovich had come to Arsenal. And now it's coming to bite him in the backside, which is quite entertaining. We all know what the deal with Levy. He's kept the club sustainable. Under Irving Scholar, we almost went bankrupt. Sugar's run us terribly. Levy has made huge mistakes, but he's kept the club sustainable. And this lovely stadium that's behind me in this picture is part of the fruit of his labour. But yes, he's made major mistakes from a footballing point of view. There's been times he should have invested. The Lewis Zaha, Ryan Nelson one, I always go back to. We would have got Champions League that season had we bought a player that would have improved us. Zaha was okay, Nelson was okay, but they were old at the end of their careers, and we didn't it didn't help that Harry Redknapp obviously had some issues and was been flirting with England. But ultimately, it's a frustrating. I'm still very much of the opinion that a lot of the problems we have relate not to Levy but to Joe Lewis, because Levy is doing what he can with what's available to him ultimately. Joe Lewis is the one who really is keeping the reins on him. And until Levy, there's suggestions that Levy might be able to buy him out at some point. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. We're really going to struggle ultimately. No one's going to buy us. That's the bottom line. We can protest as much as we like. No one's going to buy this club at £3 billion.
Probably not. I mean, to answer Dean's question, I don't think the Chelsea situation really changes anything for most people. If you appreciate the job that Levy has done for Spurs financially, which frankly everyone should, financially, he's done an amazing job. I mean, that's the key word there. But if you don't like Levy, the fact that Chelsea might go bankrupt doesn't make you like Levy. that won't change anything. I think that those positions have already been decided for almost everyone. But like I'm very happy that my club is not involved in the situation that Chelsea is. So regardless of the Levy thing, I don't want that for Spurs. So if Levy was to sell up, I don't want that for Spurs. I don't want us to go out and win a whole bunch of trophies, knowing the whole time that it's cheating. It's the cheat code is on with Chelsea, and it has been. And you could say the same for Man City, absolutely. So I want Tottenham to do things. I don't want to say in the right way, because that's always a weird thing, but organically, we have grown because we have got better on the pitch, and we have built a stadium that the club will pay for. Yeah, it would maybe it'd be done quicker if the owners had done for it, but the club will be able to pay it off, and they'll be able to pay it off easily if people still go. And that's what you want. You don't want to see your club saddled with debt that you can't pay off. So I think that to answer Dean's question, like, people's opinions won't have changed because of Chelsea. We can all just smile that it's happening to them.
Okay, Becky?
Yeah, well, they're saying out there this week, Everton, there's something going on with Everton, isn't there, about financial fair play and they're teetering. So I think, the freedom from information is allowing these sort of things to get out maybe more than they have done in the past. And that's what Raymond Brush was very good. He was good at kind of keeping it hidden from everybody. But yeah, the Newcastle thing, that game when we played them after they were bought and they were waving all those flags, and the fans know that it's going to change Newcastle, and it is hard to watch that from the outside in without feeling a bit envious. But like, I agree with HC, we need to do it in the right way, and it needs to be sustainable. And it's just a shame we haven't got a footballing person that's happy to make the signings as well as the financial element of it. He always seems to quote that he's not in it for the football, and if there was someone who maybe was, we may have done things a bit quicker.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything to be too happy about as a Spurs fan when you consider how Joe Lewis made his money. So is there a billionaire owner that's squeaky clean? Would be my question. I don't think there is. Like clearly, we haven't got loads of Russian blood money coming in, which is in effect is what it is. And everyone's always known that with Abramovich. And now finally, the birds have come home to roost. But that doesn't really excuse Joe Lewis spending literally nothing on his team. Being worth billions and billions and billions. So I completely understand the frustration of the supporters, even if I think Levy's done a decent job with transforming the club over the last 20 years. Because no one could really keep a straight face and argue that the club hasn't been transformed in the last 20 years. It might not have won anything, but look at the might and the financial muscle of the club, which can then be used to attract better players, better coaches. I mean, Christ, we've got one of the best coaches in the world, in charge of the team. You'd never have got that 20 years ago. You got to wash that George Graham. That's
people think about, everyone talks about when Spurs were good in the 80s, right? Well, I mean, my memory's not great, but in the 80s, I think Aston Villa won the league. I think Everton won the league. They're much further away from anything than Spurs are, right? So, like, we could easily be in that position. Yes, we won cups. I mean, that was amazing. But it just, you have to look at it and realize that it's not the 80s anymore. And so, in the 80s, we were one of the big five, and maybe we underperformed in the 80s. And we could or should have been better. I don't think that you could look at Spurs over the last 10 years and say that we've ever really underperformed. We've been about where we should be or better. And so, we may well have won trophies in the 80s, but I don't know. I still would rather be where we are now than to be where Everton or Aston Villa are, and they're playing catch up.
Look, it's ultimately really disappointing that we haven't won anything. We've had a team good enough to win stuff. We just haven't got over the line. To me, it's as simple as that. But the conversely, I do believe that if we'd have won the title the year we ran close, or the 2 years we ran close, I think there'd still be people moaning about Daniel Levy because why are we winning it this year and all the rest of it. I think people just want to win and they want to win now, and I completely understand that. And it is frustrating that the billionaire owner, who is very, very, very wealthy and will be even more wealthy when he eventually sells Spurs, isn't putting a bit more into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an argument that had we won the league in 16 or 17, that our club could have been broken up just like Leicester was, right? I mean, like Leicester lost their best players. Why would someone like Eriksen or Vertonghen or wherever stay at Spurs when they've done probably all they could if they win the league? Like now we are in a better we're in a better position to keep those players because of what we have. But we couldn't keep Kyle Walker when we finished second. Maybe we could have paid him the money that Man City wanted, but we couldn't have given him the chance of trophies that Man City did. So there's a reason why Danny Rose wanted to leave.
The chance to work with Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, so it's crazy. I'd love to say that had we won the league in 2017, we'd have kept the team and we'd have moved on. But Eriksen wanted to leave anyway, regardless of how good we were. I just don't think it's a realistic hypothesis to say that had we done this, we would have just continued to get better and better. It may well have been just another swallow, one swallow in the summer, like Leicester was.
Yeah. And as the resident Everton fan says, Everton going backwards under Mosharari. So money doesn't necessarily solve everything all the time, does it? Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of good points here, right? We'll take the one from Matt. I get it.
Matt. Hi, Matt.
I get it, Matt. I hope you're well. Yeah, I would love to win the league, but it's to me, it's not a case of. I think a lot of fans they see that had we done this, we would have gone from strength to, and I don't think that's true. It would have been amazing. I wanted it just as much as everyone else. I still can't believe we got as close as we did because this is Spurs, right? Like,
surreal.
Yeah. 86 points and a plus 60 goal difference for Spurs. Yeah, maybe in 2 seasons or 3, but not in 1. So, I get it. I want to win the league. I want to see that before I die, and that may well be the best chance. But the idea that we missed our chance to really compete with the best teams, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, exactly. Prone to exaggeration, being a Spurs fan. I saw another point from Gov. Why would Everton be in trouble for FFP, but Chelsea get off breakers? Yeah, it's a fair point, isn't it? The rules are just nonsense, aren't they, Becky? I just baffled.
It's almost like they have to kind of rewrite them every time something happens. Because someone was saying the other day about if Chelsea going to going to administration, is it going to be 15 points when Derby had 21? So there isn't even a consistent approach across different clubs. But I think, like you said before, it depends which team it is. We haven't talked about VAR much tonight, and it's that idea about definitely certain clubs. People were saying about 16-17 season, they were asking about it this week. There is definitely an agenda against certain teams.
Yeah.
Maybe that will start to change now because these clubs aren't squeaky clean. Then it does come back. With the sponsorships coming away and that sort of thing. There is a bit more of an ownership, I think, on the TV companies and that sort of side of it. Really, it'd be interesting to see how it kind of evolves. Really.
Yeah. I mean, this is. I'd love to know the answer to this, to be honest, Gov, but I just don't think there's going to be any kind of mileage in it because no one knows the answer really. Do you? Unless I'm mistaken.
I think. Go on, John.
No, go
okay.
John.
I was going to say, I think the trouble is now because he's basically been forced to sell, rightly. What's he supposed to do? He can't take his money out. So where's that 1.5 billion going to go? Is it going to be owed to the British government? I don't. That's one of those things. It's not really the football club's fault that that's happened as such. It's his fault. So I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? But yes, ultimately, he came in before FFP was in. He started spending his money. We were all jealous at the time. Now, in hindsight, we're not so jealous.
They've still won all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So and had a when I was a kid, you supported Man United or Liverpool, right? I was an exception. There was me and one other kid in my year that supported Spurs. That's it. That's it. Everyone supported Man United and Liverpool and or Arsenal, unfortunately.
Caller, is this your way of saying that you are exceptional?
I am exceptional. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And it's Wayne to you.
Becoming a Spurs fan has made you exceptional. I guess that's true for all of us.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
We are all exceptional.
We're all exceptional in the amount of tolerance we have. But you can't really. There's a whole generation of Chelsea fans now that wouldn't have been if it wasn't for Abramovich and all these dirty money. And it's disgusting, really. It's disgusting. And Gub's quite right. The whole sanction thing is so the club can be bought on the cheap. What do the panel think Chelsea is worth? Daniel Levy's putting a bid in, ready. He's preparing a bid as we speak.
1, 2.
Yeah. Don't know, John. What do you think?
Well, they don't own the pitch. Do they own the stands? I'm not quite sure if that.
Yeah, they own the ground. They don't own
right.
The pitch.
So they own the ground. Well, the grounds. The East Stand was built in 1974. It's quite archaic. Needs a refurb. It's limited capacity. They brought in planning permission, didn't they? But then it got objected to by somebody's house across the railway line. It's too small, the stadium, and it's quite old. Even the most modern stands were built in the 90s, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or maybe the West Stand was built in the early 2000s.
Bates, wasn't it, who finished off the stadium redevelopment?
Right, yeah. So it needs a massive refurb. It needs 42,000 not big enough for a Premier League team realistically these days. Especially, like you say, with so many new Chelsea fans now in the last... I mean, down here on the South Coast, there's Chelsea shirts everywhere. It's quite frustrating. There's a few Spurs fans, and if you see the odd United... I mean, I know some United season ticket holders who drive up every game from down here. Obviously, none of them have got a Mancunian accent, obviously. But, yeah, it's worth what someone's willing to pay for it. But there has been lots of stories of a few American owners looking at it. It could end up being a bit of a bidding war. But the question still goes back to, where's that money going? Is it going to go to the government? Or is it, like Abramovich was saying a few days ago, he's going to give the money to a Ukrainian charity or something?
No, he didn't. He said he was going to give the money to victims of the war in the Ukraine, which is very loosely open to interpretation. Okay. Putin's a victim. Poor Putin. He's had his reputation damaged. There's 1.5 billion. Off I go. Cheers. It wouldn't surprise me.
It's deliberately vague. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. But the stadium itself is not worth a massive. Apart from the fact the real estate is worth money.
Yeah.
Oh, the land's worth millions.
Yeah.
But not billions. Ideally, what we need is a property investors bulldoze it and build houses on it and
make them go and play at Wimbledon's new ground.
No, just fold the club.
Would they fill Wimbledon's new ground? I
don't know. In League One.
Yeah,
not when they're in League One. No chance. Exactly. Maybe Ken Bates will come back and buy them. Yeah,
I think he is dead now. I think
he died now, is he?
I think so. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Well, he went to Leeds as well.
Just like Chelsea will be in 2 short months. I can dream. I can dream. I'm sorry, but Chelsea, there's nothing about Chelsea's history that makes you say, "Oh yeah, I'd like them to stick around." There's nothing. There is no good reputation.
Matt's a lovely lad because he says as much as he hates Chelsea and Abramovich, I feel all rules should be bent and manipulated to keep the club afloat. Losing a club is a catastrophe for so many people. Becky, are you as kind as that?
No, I think when I was growing up in Shrewsbury and everybody supports Liverpool or Man United, and I was like a lot of you, I was the only Spurs fan. And now it's even up here, there's Chelsea fans everywhere, and it's just, like we said before, it has to come, back to them. And there's been clubs that have, been in similar situations. I mentioned Bury before. It is a horrendous thing for the community. But Chelsea isn't a community and the fans aren't a community, and I don't really care for that side of it at all for them. So
I have no problem.
Interesting fact for you, Becky. I've played at Gay Meadow.
Oh, really?
Indeed.
There you
God,
go.
actually, sorry, I interrupted you.
Add your own jokes in there at your will.
There's no joke. I did. It was Shrewsbury Brown is called Gay Meadow. Or was before they knocked it down and built houses.
Yeah, they
What
were.
these happened to Shrewsbury?
Shrewsbury were the
Chelsea.
team that always flooded, and they had to go when the ball went over. Stanley had to go and get a guy in a boat to go and get the ball back. So they moved because it kept flooded, and now it's called It's got a sponsor's name, Meadow, but yeah, it used to be called Gay Meadow.
New Meadow, I think something originally titled like that.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you, the surface was rubbish. I miskicked a couple of times. HG, you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like I'm all for keeping Chelsea afloat, absolutely. But they can start do what they did with Rangers, send them to the bottom of the league, the bottom of the leagues. The club can still exist, no issue with that. But like you can't just blatantly decide, right, I'm going to give you $1.5 billion to keep you afloat for 20 years or however long he's been in charge, and at the end of it say, oh yeah, actually I don't need the money. That's a clear break of whatever rules there are. That has to be, you have to have broken them. Like, you imagine if the banks who have lent Spurs all this money to build the stadium said, yeah, actually, you know what, just give me diver's seat and we're good. Like, it's
worth a lot.
The value is, but it would be outrageous. I mean, yeah, we'd all love it, but it would be against the rules completely. So,
Hold
like,
on.
yeah,
They can only have diver's seat if they do Conte Cam for us.
oh, there you go. Oh, that's true.
Absolutely.
All right. So there's conditions with that. I just feel that, like, fine, like, you know, the players have to go because they can't afford their wages. So they have. I mean, literally, you just tear up the contracts and say, right, we can't afford to pay you. Off you go. Afford to lose his. I don't know. Like, yes, there may well be at some point one decent Chelsea fan, because I know one, maybe. But no, I'm sorry, you can't do that, and then expect to be allowed to get off scot-free. They've got players that they can't afford. Those players either need to be sold or just let go. Done. Then you don't have to worry about those wages anymore. That's what needs to happen to Chelsea. And if they can't have any money coming in, great. Make it a volunteer club, and they can start in whatever division it is that's in the lowest of the leagues, and then Chelsea Football Club still exists. And of course, if you were a good Chelsea fan, you'd still support them. So what's the problem?
Becky, does Chelsea's predicament make players consider where the owner money comes from before signing a la Newcastle?
I'd love to say it does, but I'm not so sure it does. I think you had mentioned before about whether the Chelsea players can, have a whip round and fund the petrol for the coach and that sort of thing. But I think those that have already decided to jump ship, they'll do so. You'd love to think that there are players that will be like that, but they'll go to clubs that will pay them, and that's what they will do. And we're not at that point yet, I don't think.
No, absolutely. John, you agree?
There'll be one or two players that take the moral high ground, but most of them, won't even care. And their agents won't care either.
Well, Trippier couldn't wait to get there, could he? He thought, Christ, have some of that action.
It's a shame that all the people that work there might lose their jobs, but it's like any other business. If it goes bankrupt because of mismanagement, people can lose their jobs. It happens to everyone. I mean, not to everyone, but yeah, it happens all the time. So I get it. It's unfortunate that these things happen, but what do you do? Like, are the rest of us going to prop Chelsea up and pay for it? I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, you've even got an Everton fan there saying, give back the cups. No, don't give them back. Give them to us. Thanks very much.
What, all of them?
Not all of them. Maybe I don't think we've got a claim on all of them. But
can we go back to the semi-final when we had Son at left wing back and go and play that final then?
Oh, let's not bring that up again.
Who would the final have been against? I don't even remember.
Was it Arsenal? It's bound to be Arsenal, wasn't it?
There's been Arsenal-Chelsea finals recently, so maybe.
We've got 17 days money left.
Well, they haven't because they can't get any money out.
Happy birthday, Evie. Happy birthday, Evie. 2 weeks today. It's going to happen. What is your favourite ever birthday present? Well, my dad says.
Yeah.
My dad says it was Chelsea. Chelsea folding. Brilliant.
And it makes Granny happy as well, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everyone in my family is a Spurs fan, whether they know it or not.
So, HG, you've got some reading to do over the weekend, mate, apparently.
Oh boy, Gov. It doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, look, my school has lots of rules for what happens when kids are bad. Doesn't necessarily mean that they happen, but the rules are there so that everyone knows what should happen. But anyway, yeah, I'll read that, Gov. Thanks.
Conte's comments. For sure, there is a moment, there is only one truth. I'm committed to this club for another year. The club wanted this type of situation, and I accepted it because it was good to get to know each other. It was good to get to know how much you whinged and moaned about everything, Conte, to be perfectly honest. But thanks for that, Matt. That's a really useful quote. And Becky, does that fill you with hope that he's not going to walk off into the sunset in the summer?
I think it's like you said, it depends in what mood he's in. We have, the highs are the highs. We have to celebrate the highs because when the lows are lows, they're hard. And then when Conte comes out and, to be fair to him, says what we've often thought, the players aren't possibly at the standard that he'd hoped. And, they can work really hard and the quality's not there. But that's all right every now and again. I think hearing it every single time we lose it just makes it a bit of a mockery, and the media just completely jump on it and they love it. But yeah, he's right. The club does need some changes from top to bottom. And if he does stick around long enough, I do think those changes are already afoot and they will continue to be. It's just, whether he decides that he wants to be that person to change it or do as much as he can. But I would certainly love him, to stay, because the signings that we've made this year, I think, are doing so well. And, it's really positive that he is doing the right things. The players are saying that they're enjoying the training and what they're doing. It's a bit frustrating when we feel frustrated and then Conte says it and then all the speculation restarts, and it's just sometimes it's a bit wearing, but some of what he says is right. It needs to be said, but maybe not always out in public. So
HG, you've been pretty adamant that this is always going to be the case. He's always going to be next season and potentially one more. Do you still stand by that?
Yeah. I mean, like, if things are going the way he wants it to, why would you? Like, the only thing I could see is if, I think I've said the World Cup is in November. If Italy might not even make it. But if they go out and they decide to sack Mancini, then he might think, that might be fun again. But I don't know. I think he likes club football. I think he likes being around it. And Spurs are a good club to be at. If he goes out and gets some players that he wants to work with in the summer, what incentive is there of leaving? Like, I think I saw him. He shared a picture on one of his social media channels. His wife and his daughter were at the game against Everton. I think he's becoming more committed to us, and he must be seeing the improvement and want to work with these players. So, I understand the nervousness of fans, but what I don't understand is why the reporters continually ask if he's going to stay. If I was him, I'd be like, well, I refer you to the comment I made every single press conference before this one. We know he's going to stay, so let's just assume it's going to happen. I don't even want to really talk about it anymore.
And do you think that this puts it to bed, John, and we'll stop hearing about him, walking out on us and all the rest of it, or if we're just going to wait till tomorrow evening when we lose at Man United and it's back on?
I think this will keep going until we get through the transfer market. Hopefully, we sign most of the players he wants, or the types of players he wants. And if next season starts well, then maybe it'll go away. The weird thing is, from what I understand, his press conferences, it's very regimented. He said he'll give a very full answer, but they get one question each, and it is very much in and out. Whereas other managers will, Nuno obviously was a prime example, take lots of questions, but would give yes and no answers. Conte will always give a very long, full answer. So he's good value for that question. But like she says, why keep asking that question? There must be far more questions to ask about the game or surrounding it than a question it's a bit repetitive now. But if we do lose tomorrow, it will be interesting to see what his attitude's like. Because he was quite positive after Borough, wasn't he? It was a bit weird.
I don't think he cared about the FA Cup. I genuinely don't think he gives a shit about the FA Cup. Really doesn't. Sorry, Becky. I know you were there and travelled. But I don't. I honestly think he thinks top four is what he's got to focus his energies on. Obviously, it's not that we tried to lose against Middlesbrough. We set out to win. We put a very strong side out. They didn't perform, but does he think it's the end of the world? Absolutely not. There's another quote there. In all respect, Middlesbrough, Burnley, Wolverhampton can beat them. We could also beat them in our own stadium, and this is what we have to do. This is our job tomorrow. If I was Conte, I'd just pin that on the wall, wouldn't you, John?
Well, it's a bit like the old Alex Ferguson, this is Tottenham thing, isn't it, almost? But we've got a bit more bite these days. Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one, isn't it? Rannick. The weird one, Borough lost 4-1 on Tuesday.
Brilliant.
Football's weird, isn't it? Just weird.
Especially when Spurs are concerned.
I'm afraid it's woefully predictable when you're a Spurs fan.
Absolutely.
That's the big problem. And Gov asks, left centre back, right wing back, and a creative midfielder in the summer. I think everyone would agree with that shopping list. Becky, we've not heard your thoughts on this, obviously. Anything else you'd target?
A backup striker. We always say it, don't we? Kane's touch wood and all bits of touch. He's not got injured yet this season, but when that happens, we are stuffed. So we need a backup striker. Dane Scarlett's getting a few minutes, but he's a bit like when Cesc comes on. He looks like men against boys, and it's not the same level. And I think certainly the wing back situation. Davis is doing okay, left centre back, isn't he? But he's getting on as well, as much as I love him. But we need a striker.
Are you a Davis fan? Are you?
Yeah, that's my maiden name as well. I think he's when he was put out to pasture, and then since Conte's come back, he's done a job for us. But it's not. His time is up soon too as well. So.
Daddy Davis, Anne calls him. I don't know why. I don't think I want to know.
That's a bit concerning, isn't it?
Will he move to 3-5-2 in the summer? HG.
No, I don't think he will now. It doesn't mean he shouldn't, but I think that if Kulusevski continues to play well, where does he fit in this 3-5-2? That'd be a question. So I know Fabrizio Romano said he expects it to happen. Maybe with we've still got the French kid coming in. Maybe he would come and be part of a strong midfield. But I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe in certain games, but I think 3-4-3 might well be the most used formation.
How do you feel about that?
It all depends on what squad we've got. I thought 3-5-2 was better before we made the changes in January. I don't think it is the right one now because we don't have three central midfielders really. So that may well be it. But if the squad is designed for a 3-4-3, which you would, whatever happens in the summer, you'd hope that we'd know, right, this is what he's
clear
trying to
shape,
go. And then we'll do it. But certainly before January, I thought 3-5-2 was the best option, and now I think 3-4-3 probably is. But it's more to do with kind of minimizing our weaknesses more than maximizing our strengths.
Very good. Okay. Well, look, we've been going for an hour and 48 minutes. So we're going to call it a night here. Just a shout out to our podcast. Will be available directly after the game tomorrow and is available on Spotify and, of course, Apple Podcasts and all good podcast providers. I'm not sure who's on, but I'm sure it will be excellent as ever. John, thanks for joining us.
It's been great. Thank you very much. We're going to probably lose. We'll win, I hope.
Well, you predicted a win, so we've got to stick with
No,
that.
I predicted a loss. Because
did you? Oh, right.
I was reverse psychology,
I'm going to have to put you on mute. Becky, thanks for joining us from the Cheshire borders. Cheshire.
Thank you for having me. I've loved every minute of it. Come on, you Spurs.
And just to be really clear, Becky, Stoke is not Cheshire, is it?
No, Stephanie in Staffordshire.
It's a different world.
Yes, absolutely a different world. A lovely part of the world, Chester. I used to work there. 4-0 win, Gov says. So, you
For who, Gov? For who? Which team?
He's put it as a home win, so probably there's your answer.
Gov's normally pretty positive for Spurs.
Very positive, so I'm saying 4-0.
The Californian sunshine, I think, we that to me, so I don't blame him.
And HG, as ever, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
No problem. Really enjoyed it.
And of course, until next time, come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.